How's it going, friends and family of the internet? Welcome to the Real AF TV podcast show about fishing and random takes from the land of 10,000 lakes. I'm one of your hosts, Josh LaBaw.
And I am Tim Wagner, also a host. I think you're the host. I'm like the guy that's here.
Co-host.
Co-host. I'm a co-host, kind of.
But I'm a co-host. I'm your co-host. I think it's just a co-hosting situation.
It probably co-host.
We just kind of have our roles. Like, I don't really know what I'm talking about, so I have to research it, and then you're just kind of off the dome most of yours.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, off the dome, like co-host, eating ho-hos, stuff like that. We should eat ho-hos, because co-hosts should eat ho-hos.
We should just get, like, stacks of Little Debbie in the background.
No, ho-hos are hostess, bro. Little Debbie's are garbage. Come at me.
Damn. I knew that too, because I was going to say Twinkies, and I know Twinkies is hostess.
No, Swiss cake rolls. My wife likes Swiss cake rolls. I tell her ho-hos are the best. Like, I'm all about hostess, and she's like, nah, Little Debbie's. And I'm like, you are broken. I'm not a Little Debbie's fan at all. I like hostess. I like the ho-hos. That's what it's. The Swiss cake rolls from Little Debbie's are some sort of a cake that had a baby with a sponge. I think, I don't know. It's like, I don't care for it one bit. They taste so fake to me. Ho-hos are still not great for you, but they at least taste like chocolate.
If it wasn't for that weird crumbly cake coating on the outside, they wouldn't taste like chocolate. So the Swiss cake rolls wouldn't taste like chocolate. But that weird, it's like kind of waxy even.
Yeah. And it's
so maybe that's what makes it not taste like chocolate. Shit.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I'm just not a fan of the Little Debbie's like chocolate stuff. That makes some okay other stuff. I'm not a big Little Debbie's guy, you know. I'm a hostess dude, but
I got you.
I'm just I think Little Debbie's is like from here, like more local.
Oh, from Minnesota, yeah.
I think so. I think some people are like, you're a traitor, and I'm just like, just because they're from here doesn't mean I gotta eat it. A lot of people around here like originated growing up eating lutefisk. Right. I'm not putting that shit down just because I'm from here. So that's
right. I'm not drinking hams just because they're from Minnesota. Fuck that.
That's right. I'll collect their stuff because I like the bears, and beer memorabilia is cool. But when it comes to actually drinking it, I don't know. I think I had it once and it was okay.
Right.
So that's my random rant that came out of nowhere because I heard co-host and ho-hos, and they're kind of rhyme because there's O's. And then we went off on a rant. That wasn't a plan. That was off the dome. That's what we were talking about. You said off the dome, and then we did a 3-minute rant on nothing.
If you're new to the podcast, that is not usually how we start. Well, yeah, it really kind of maybe is. Maybe not that long, but you know, sometimes we just go off on shit, and that is part of the Real AF TV podcast. If you didn't know, we drop every other Monday, and then on our off week on Wednesday, we drop the fishing topic all by itself, and we drop the random take all by itself. But you miss all that fun, weird shit, and including the fishing news, Tim, which how we kick the podcast off. And this week's topic headline is, did ice fishing just win the Bassmaster Classic? Probably. And I say that because the Aquaview is really getting a lot of attention since Gussie won. So I know an Aquaview. I think most of the northern states, probably the ones that are up here far enough to get ice, know Aquaview as an ice fishing camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
now all of a sudden, I mean, we'll get into it, but now all of a sudden it's getting all this attention because of the way that Jeff Gussie Gustafson was practicing.
Oh yeah.
So I got out. Okay. So in the YouTube link, I always put or in the YouTube video, if you go over there, at Real AF TV on the /, I put a link, and I read Gussie's actual article, like Jeff's article on Bassmaster. That's the one I'm going to post in the link.
Okay.
There's a ton of coverage on Bassmaster, of course. Like you go to the Bassmaster podcast and badmaster.com and you have other people writing about it, right? There's a lot going on. But I took this straight. Gustafson himself wrote this one. But I really wanted to just kind of focus in on that Aquaview because you sent an Instagram post and you were like, oh, shit. He wrote it in there, and he's a Canadian. He's the first Canadian since the thing started, since Bassmaster Classic started in 1971. He's the first Canadian to win it.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy to think about?
That is crazy. Like I wouldn't even question it. Like I thought for sure. There's plenty of northern people that have won. And
Sure.
all you have to think that just slightly across the border has never been done before.
Right.
That's nuts to me. I thought for sure.
No.
Maybe there's some red tape. Nah, there can't be.
No.
There's Japanese dudes.
Right.
But that was the classic, right? So the first
so
one
this was the classic.
The first one to win the classic.
First one to win the classic. Yes.
Okay.
So once a year opportunity. Right.
Right.
So I guess but still 1971.
That's still crazy. I would have thought that, there'd be, whoop, that was a weird noise.
I could kind of hear that. I don't know if the listeners are going to be able to hear that, but
one, it was like a burp, but it came from my throat. It was like a bubble moving up here someplace. Sorry, that was awkward. I don't know. That was weird.
But it threw you off.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Anyways, 52 years. There's been 50. This must have been
nuts.
the 52nd classic then.
Yeah, that's
and this first time a Canadian's won it, and it just seems crazy because it was even in a fairly southern state to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Southern state to definitely to a Canadian, they'd call that.
South. For sure. Everything's a southern state to them.
But yeah, so he anyways, I thought that was crazy. And then just to go he's talking about the Aquaview a lot. And you talked it up. So what do you think?
Well, so what I think is that there was a different lake that they were fishing in North Dakota, I believe. Wasn't it last year where they went to North Dakota for the first time?
I think it was South Dakota because they were on 212.
Okay.
The 212 bridge. So I'm pretty sure it was South Dakota.
Okay.
But yeah.
And that lake that they were fishing, it was really hard for them to catch fish.
It was, yeah.
And they were on those rocks. And there was fish hiding in the rocks. And this lake, he was talking about how where he was fishing, that there was fish hiding in the rocks again.
Mm-hmm.
And that forward facing sonar and stuff that's not going to show you fish in those cracks. I don't think
because they're literally enough. When you say in the rocks, I'm using my hands right now, but a rock on the left, rock on the right, and this fish is kind of filling up what would be a canyon, a gap. It's filling the gap of from the two rocks.
Yeah, from my understanding, the way he said it was the fish were hiding in those rocks.
Yeah.
So the sonar was showing rocks, but it wasn't showing what was between the rocks. And I don't know exactly what the rocks look like, but that's his words, where they were hiding in the rocks.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to use that sonar and you're just seeing that there's structure there, but you're oh, there's no fish around it. And it's because the fish are in it. And then you take your camera and the camera's you're able to see in it because the sonar can't show you a picture of what it's bouncing around. It probably does. But to be able to decipher what you're looking at because it's showing you all, is probably way too
just
hard.
Think it's another rock, right? You could probably see the three rocks and you just go, I don't know, it's rocks. It's not moving.
Right. Yeah. And your boat's moving a little bit. So the rocks and the pictures constantly kind of moving a little bit. So you probably can't even tell, I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Right.
But then you get your camera out and boom, you can see exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense that in practice, he was I'm just going to go and look at everything And I
Right.
sent you that thing because I was like, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating because I'll use my graph and I'm like seeing stuff and I'm marking fish. And then
Mhm.
every once in a while, like I can't get anything to bite, but I know there's something there. And then I'll just stop fishing for a little bit and like whip out the camera and just look
Sure.
to just be like, what am I seeing? What is
Sure.
down there? You know, like I'm not fishing at the same time I'm using the camera. It's like the same thing he was doing, like in practice.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get an understanding of what he's looking at. And that's what I do too. And then
Yeah.
I have done it before where I just go like you drop it down and you almost want to know that it's like something else. Like what is it? You know, is it like a tula bee? I know that they stocked those in here once upon a time, so the muskies had something to eat. Am I seeing some stupid fish that doesn't want to bite my stuff? And then you drop it down there and the camera shows it's a walleye and you go, God damn it. Like I'm on the right fish. Just like, okay, well, I mean, that makes me feel better that I'm in the right spot, but why won't you bite anything I'm throwing down there?
Shit.
Yeah. So that's when I've used the Aquaview in the summertime before, like he was doing, not summertime, but you know, open water.
Yeah, yeah, because you
You know,
you
because
can't
you're
use it like the same way too, and that's why I said like I kind of do that funny like
right.
clickbait headline
Yeah, yeah.
because I
Because
know that you can't
yeah,
use like in Minnesota you can't use your Aquaview to actually fish
right.
because in the winter you use it to literally fish. Like you'll just drop it down on top of fish and then you'll
Yeah,
move your bait and you'll watch how the fish is reacting and you will literally play the fish
yeah.
using the camera. You can't do that in the summertime, but you can
Right.
still look and then cast out and hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the wintertime, for people who aren't familiar, most of the time you drill like a secondary hole, like a
Yeah.
little bit farther away, and then you shine it over. So you're sitting in one spot all day, you know. But in the
Right.
summertime, it's open water. You're moving around, and that can get tangled around everything and stuff. You wouldn't even want to do it, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
I think you'd spook everything.
Right.
But I mean, it's a heck of a tool when you're trying to understand stuff because the graph can show you a mark, but being able to decipher what the mark is, you know,
Yeah.
and a mark is, you know, it's like an arc, and it's a fish, depending on what you're looking, you know, what kind of
In the
sonar you're
in the ice
using.
fishing in the Markham.
Well, on the Markham, it's the flasher is different, but like
Oh,
in the summertime, the mark like you'll see a fish because it'll reflect that there's a thing there.
I
Like the
gotcha.
color lets you know that there's something there.
Right.
And
Right.
a fish most of the time comes back as like an arc. It looks like a boomerang almost.
Right.
And however, I don't understand sonar enough to know why it looks like a
To why?
boomerang,
Yeah.
but
For
it
sure.
does.
I gotcha.
And you see that and you're like, well, that's a fish right there. But what kind of fish is hard to tell sometimes unless you see the size, you know?
Yeah.
Some of them, when it's a big muskie, it's pretty obvious. Like that's a pike or a muskie.
Yeah. Because it
There's
marks
no
so
other
much larger.
options.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's definitely a good tool to drop down, see exactly what you're looking at, and that's what he did. You just and it's an awesome thing to use, and I didn't know you could, and it's
Right.
weird to me that this is like the first I've kind of heard of that,
Right. Yeah. Me
but
too.
it's not the first time I've heard of people using stuff to look in the water. So I guess it makes sense. Just nobody else has tried to use the camera.
Gotcha.
But now everything's got so advanced. The cameras are way better. It
Right.
wasn't that long ago that the cameras weren't that good of quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you're getting like high def imaging and everything. Like the cameras are more advanced. They like glide through the water better and stuff.
Right.
But there's another pro. I can't remember who it was, but he has like, you know, the cheerleaders when they have, it's not a megaphone, but they have that giant cone
Yeah.
and they use it to yell to the fans.
Yeah.
He had one of those with like a handle. And when you're on the water's like turbulent, right? So it's
Yeah.
hard to look down into. And he would put that cone in the water and then put his eye up to the cone.
Oh,
and then it would make that,
that big patch
2
of
foot
water.
around circle
Yeah.
clear.
Uh-huh.
And the water was clear enough. He could look down and sight fish, like the smallmouth that he was fishing over. You could physically look down, even though it was a windy, rough day.
Yeah. And see the
Yeah.
fish. That's fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So it's not the first time anybody's utilized like something to help them see.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know I didn't know what the regulations were. I never looked into it. I didn't know you could
Yeah.
use one of
I didn't
those.
know either. I don't know. Still, I didn't look
Yeah.
into it. It's just like
So
he said it in more than one place. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's getting attention.
And that's why I felt, well, I mean, if you win too and they're your sponsor, you
Right.
gotta be like, that's what helped me win,
Right. Good
shout
point.
out. And then
Yep.
and then that sponsor's gonna be like, damn, dude, like we did so many more sales. Like, here's all the money. And Aquaview's not the only one, but Aquaview I think is the best known, and I think they're the ones that started it. Like, I have a Markham camera. I'm sure Vexlar makes a camera. I haven't looked into that, but yeah, that one though made me feel really good to see that video, and I was like, oh, thank God you're allowed to use it in tournament fishing and practices, so now I don't have to feel like a piece of shit when I'm out there trying to decipher. I always felt like there was part of me that felt like a poser, where people would just be like, you can't just figure out what you're looking at with your graph, and like, can you? Should I admit that I can't all the time? Because it's hard sometimes. I'm trying to figure it out.
Right. Plus, this makes you learn your graph better too, I think.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's
you'll
what
learn
I
it
was
quicker,
using.
right? Because you'll be able to confirm, and you'll be like, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a crappie. Watch,
Yeah,
and then bam.
That's exactly what I was using it for. It's that gain confidence, because you could look at something and have an idea,
right?
But the camera, because I do have an Aquaview too. My dad has an Aquaview, so when I'm up north, I'm using an Aquaview in the summer because that's what he has.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a camera as well. But like, I mean, when you're guessing, when you see the stuff, it's only, a guess. But when you see it on camera, it's without a shadow of a doubt. Like, that's exactly what I saw. I know exactly what it was.
Right.
So that confidence builder of knowing, like, I'm in the right spot. I got to the right area. Those were the fish I was going after. And it gives you that knowledge of like, okay, so they weren't the wrong fish. I'm in the right spot. Now I have to tweak my presentation.
Right, because they're not biting or whatever the case may be. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I never even thought about doing it like him though.
Yeah.
Where it's just like using it to go and look at stuff that you can't necessarily use the sonar for. It like started popping off like a bunch of different ideas.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of bogs and stuff that I always want to use.
Yeah.
Jigs. And I'll
use
the
bogs,
jigs.
like those floating islands of cattails, basically.
Yeah. And so that bog, before it breaks off, there's the whole shoreline is filled with them in certain areas.
Yep.
And bass will sit underneath those because it's cooler. Like, it attracts. Yep. It attracts bait fish, and it's cooler underneath there and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always used jigs to like draw them out, and I catch fish and I do well. But now I'm like, oh man, what if I took a camera and just like drove past and like really seen how many fish? Is it gonna be like, oh my God, there's like 1 million of them? I've only caught like,
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy to think about. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. That was good fishing news there. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit of housekeeping. Let's get into what the podcast is actually going to be about. So we're going to talk about the weather. And we're going to try out some new production things, some new toys we just got. That's the only one. That was just a little teaser. We're going to talk about the weather. But what we're really going to talk about is open water season ever going to start in Minnesota? That's because of the weather. So we're going to get into that. And then we are going to talk in the random take about ramen noodles. Again, to prove me and Tim can talk a half an hour about anything. But no, I've been craving some ramen lately. So I just wanted to I just wanted to talk about like what techniques you got and
Yep.
and fun stuff like that, because quick, fast, easy, or piece of shit. I don't know. We'll talk about it. So let's get into the real housekeeping here, and I'm going to say realaf.tv is where you can find everything. That's where you're going to be able to find the Amazon link, and you're going to be able to find the Spotify link and the YouTube link and all that fun stuff, Patreon link. It's all right there on realaf.tv. Go over to youtube.com/@realaftv to get some of the video content, including the video podcast if you're listening to this on podcast feeds. Podcast feed is just fine. If you could share that with somebody, that would be awesome. Lean over to the guy next to you right now and just be like, show him your phone. Just go, hey, check this out. Check this out. Just show him your Spotify and just say, like, give it a go. Give it a go.
Give it a go, bro.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We just put up a short over on YouTube, so we're trying to get into that game. We're a little bit behind our goal of doing some photos, doing some shorts. So I just want to own that up here on episode 66 and say, yeah, we fell behind on a goal. Let's see what happens when the weather changes, if we can get some more good photos and stuff like that.
And if you go to Instagram, the reel is in our feed. And I did put it out on the reels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if that's just floating out there. Like if you're scrolling through the reels, you might come across it. I don't know how that works.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Like it's like post it to the reels and then post it. Do you also want to post it to your feed? And I said, yes. And then it exists in the feeds. And then the other one just goes into the abyss, I guess.
To the real abyss. Okay. Interesting. But it's good to know. So follow us on Instagram too. Just go look us up, Real AFT. Remember Real, like fish and reel with the two E's in the middle there. Yeah, and check that out, because hopefully we're going to be getting more up there. And, you know, even when we're posting photos on there, I'll try to throw them on Twitter too and all that fun stuff. Reviews too, if you could do a review on Apple Podcasts, I'll read it on here as long as it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the fishing topic, Tim. Is this ever going to stop? Winter, I mean?
Dude, I don't know what lakes are like right now. I think winter will stop.
I haven't been to a big lake yet. I haven't been by a big lake in a little while. The ponds just opened.
The snow at the end of my driveway is still taller than I am.
And you're over 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And as we record this today, we are like 5 weeks away from fishing opener.
Yeah, I have that down actually as like one of my things that I did research on. I'm like, okay, we all know the big day, because even when this drops, when this podcast drops, it's not super far off, right? Like we record these fairly close to drop day half the time, the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And I looked it up just to verify, just wanted to make sure. It is May 13th. May 13th is the big day. We're in the first week of April.
Yep.
Second week of April.
Yep.
It's, what'd you say, 5 weeks roughly from the day this posts?
Yeah, almost exactly.
And you have 6 foot pile of snow on your driveway still.
Yeah, 6 foot at the end. And like the whole, I mean, there's feet on the whole yard. It's everywhere. Snow is everywhere still. I drive past lakes all the time. And normally around this time, like there's almost no snow left on the ice, and it's starting to get a little bit transparent. Yeah. Other years it's been pretty close to like ice out at this point already. So
right. That's what
I think. I think up north, they're going to be pushing it. There's probably going to be some lakes not open for opener, depending on how far you go up north. Around here, I have never seen it around these parts last until like the ice is still on the lake on fishing opener, but the sun is getting more powerful.
Right.
The next week there's a 70 in the forecast.
Yeah.
So that can do some damage real fast.
Real fast.
Real fast.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
we'll
That's true.
see. All you got to do is have the sides of the water start opening up, and
Yeah,
then the wind can do the rest. But if it
for sure.
happens fast and the wind comes, that could be destructive
Okay.
because
Okay.
there's still a lot of ice that's there. And if it starts moving the whole ice shelf, that's going to rip up some people's yards hardcore. But
Oh shit. I didn't think about that.
hopefully we just get a lot of good sun and heat
Just
and
some calm sunny days.
not much wind. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For homeowners sakes, because
Right.
it could get gross. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I forget
man.
about that stuff.
Yeah. I This is one of the craziest years I can remember. I think they said we're like 8 inches away from setting the record, like the
Yeah.
all-time snowfall record.
Yeah. So as I'll say, as of recording this, and I say that because we literally got snow yesterday down in
Yeah.
my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
It was still it was snowing. It wasn't
Yep.
anything that accumulated on
Right.
the grass. It wasn't anything that accumulated on the tar, but
Right.
there's snow still
Yep.
sitting on the yards. There's snow out there, and if the snow was coming from the sky, it was sticking to the snow.
Yeah, the snow.
Same with the ice, right? Like
sticking on the other snow. Yeah.
yep, it was
Yeah, and that's
landing on
not
top of the ice, and it was staying. So it was adding another layer of snow to the. It's fucking
Mhm.
crazy. Now it wasn't like an inch even, but still,
Right.
it was happening, and it was
And
enough
that
that I'm
storm
sure it measured.
and that storm initially they were talking about like 3 to 5 inches of precipitation is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 to 5 inches of precipitation turns it, like when you hit the right temperature, that
Yeah.
turns into a shit ton of snow.
A shitload of snow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the conversion is crazy too. Isn't it like 1 to 4?
I thought it
Something
was
like
just a
that?
1-to-1. Or yeah. No. Yeah, I thought it was like 1 inch is 1 foot or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something like, I think you might be right. Like 1 inch is like an inch of precipitation is a foot of snow.
Yeah, an inch of rain is equal to a foot of snow, I think is what it is. It's
And
something like that.
it's like that depending on the temperature.
Right. Yeah,
I think
of
an
course.
inch of rain is a foot of snow if it's like 25 to like 32 degrees.
Yeah.
When it gets colder, the flakes get smaller or whatever.
Yeah, the water changes.
So it's something like that. But like, yeah, we could have got another foot of snow dumped on, and then it just ended up being like slightly warm enough that it rained.
right.
So that helped too.
It was close.
That will
It
help
was
too. If it warms up and it rains, like warm rain, not cold rain, that'll get rid of snow quick. To have a nice warm rain.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because we've had a lot of rain lately too. And
Yeah.
I should say there was a lot of rain during the winter even. And still, this is what I was going to say before is still, as of recording this is the 3rd snowiest on record in the Twin Cities area.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and we could still get snow, first of all. And there was a lot of rain mixed in with the winter too.
Right. And this latest rain was like 33 degrees during the day, like the warmest part. And then at night it dropped down to like freeze again. So all that water just like added another layer of like thin ice on top of everything.
On top of the ice, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like,
so I'm not crazy.
No, it's nuts. So we'll have to see what it looks like. I think next week will be very telling. But the power of the sun this time of year does wonders. Like it doesn't necessarily need to get that warm. Like even at 32 degrees, everything's melting because the sun is definitely hotter.
Oh, you mean So if you look at like your phone app and you see 32 degrees, that's melting weather.
Yes.
Still this time of year. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
32 degrees.
I didn't think of that.
As long as there's like not clouds. If it's a sunny day,
32-degree day,
that sun is melting the snow. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that's what it does too to like the shorelines and stuff. That's why it starts opening up close to the shore first, is because once the snow is gone, the sun's rays will heat up the sand. Like that. So it'll melt from the top and the bottom. Like the sun will hit it on the top, and the sand around the
Because the light will
shoreline
still
was,
get through the ice
yeah.
enough.
Yep. So it'll start melting on both sides and start warming up. And then once it opens up a little bit, that water starts warming up. And when the water starts warming up, then it starts a chain reaction. It all goes pretty quick once it starts to open up. And especially if we're looking at 70-degree days, it'll
Mhm.
open up pretty darn fast. Once
Okay.
it opens up, you got like a week. Once it starts to open up, like within a week, you'll normally see like it's open. But there are
Okay.
times too, like my parents' cabin is up north even farther,
Mhm.
and that has been where, people are reporting like this side of the lake is open, and then the other side of the lake still has like 8 inches of ice and people are ice fishing.
People be out there fishing still.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
we'll see what
crazy.
happens, man. And the
Yeah.
and the spawning of everything is gonna be weird timing.
Dude, that's like the whole series of things that I have on here is because before we jump into that, before we jump into the spawning, I want to ask this question. It should lead us in, hopefully, is we have all this snow. Like you just said, there's like 6 feet of snow at the end of your driveway, right?
Yeah.
Isn't all this melting snow going to affect the temperature of the lakes too? Or
Mm,
are they usually far away? Can they usually handle it? I mean, how, because all this temperature stuff,
yeah.
the fish depend on the changes to spawn. And I was just thinking, God, there's so much fucking snow.
Yeah. I mean, it will probably, um the water temperatures won't change until it's all gone.
Okay.
The water temp is going to be sitting right where it's at, like ice on the top. It's not going to be warm up there, and it's going to be warmer lower. They're going to be sitting in the pre-spawn locations just waiting. I don't
Right.
know if the walleye, like the daylight plays a role in it too. The
Oh,
fish the fish know that the days are changing.
right.
They
Okay.
know that it's like longer days and stuff.
Sure.
They're like hardwired in
Yep.
where they prefer a certain temperature, but I think they also might know that like it's now or never, so so I think
Yeah.
the crappie will be later, but I think the walleye almost like start to spawn right before the ice is out anyways. Like a
Okay.
lot of
Yeah.
the
They're just
lakes
more
they
tolerant of
start,
the cold.
yeah, and a lot of the lakes they start spawning on the rivers and stuff. So
Oh,
they'll swim
right.
up into like river bends and stuff, and those might be opening faster
Yeah, for
than the
sure.
rest of the lakes.
With the
So the
moving
walleye
water.
might spawn kind of on par,
Sure.
but I'm still guessing probably not. I don't know if for sure. It depends on the lake and stuff.
Sure.
But that's the part I'm nervous about.
What's that?
And like lakes where they're not doing that, the the walleye are going to be shallow
Okay.
where you shouldn't be screwing with them while they're spawning,
Right.
and we're going to legally be able to fish for them in some
Right.
lakes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that went through my head too. Is I was just like,
Yeah.
I know that the window we can't fish walleye in Minnesota is there to protect the
Yeah.
spawning process.
Yep.
So yeah, that was totally one of the thoughts that I had. So I'm glad that you said it. Just kind of helps me go like, okay, I think I'm catching on here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Mao but I didn't try to. Sometimes when I screw up, then I can't stop myself from just going off with more
Resetting.
noises. So if anybody's at home
Which
and they're like, "Oh Jesus, I just lose internet connection or what?" Nope, that was me. I'm weird. Um, uh, so what was I even talking about?
well, you were talking about how we could probably fish walleye
Oh yes,
during their
yes,
spawn. Like they could still be on
yeah,
beds, basically, is what you is
still on
kind of
beds
think where
and
you're going.
stuff. And if you're gonna go out there and catch them and stuff, I don't know if they're still spawning or not. So it's probably cool to like try not to keep as many. They've been talking about like lowering the limits anyways to try to make sure that people aren't, you know, destroying the populations on Lake Mille Lacs. They've already lowered the numbers and stuff, but for sure, if you're going to keep them, make sure that they're eater size.
Right.
You know, there's a good chance that if it does go way later, that the big females are going to be up in the shallows, swimming around, spawning.
Yep.
And you got a chance at hooking into a real trophy.
Right.
Don't mount it. Take a picture. Take a picture, put it back in, get a replica made. Like, let that fish, because that fish, the bigger the fish, the more eggs it lays.
Right.
Because that fish is swimming around, dropping off eggs to multiple males.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of males. The big females, not so much. So that's I'm saying, like, if you catch one, put it back.
Right.
Maybe toss it a fish or whatever, you know, like a seal. Here, eat this one, you know, just feed her. She needs her energy back.
Get a little to-go bag and put her back.
Here you go. Yep. Sacrifice a couple of your minnows just to be like, yeah, you need this more than I
do. Keep the population up. Yep. I'm glad to hear you say something like that, because the walleye is well regarded around these parts, but also you know it is one of those that seems to be getting harder to conserve almost.
Yeah. Yep.
Like conservation seems to really have work their ass off on the walleye lately, and I don't really know why, but this is a good example of like,
I don't think they're as good of spawners in a lot of lakes that they've been introduced to, because it's not there's not necessarily, like, the lake I fish all the time doesn't have the same sort of natural spawning areas. There's no natural inlets or outlets. Like, there's no stream for them to swim to.
Right.
So they may spawn, but the numbers aren't that big.
Yeah.
In that lake.
Yeah.
So, you know, keeping the numbers, doing what you can to let the natural spawning occur.
Right.
Is a big deal.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
and the numbers of those fish in general are just lesser on a lot of lakes than like crappies are.
Right.
The crappies, that's why I'm like not really nervous. I fish the crappie spawn and I keep a bunch of them. I'll snatch them right off the beds. I don't give a shit. I've been doing it for years, and the population have never even like made a dent.
Right.
Every year I go back to the same spot and they're still full and they're still big. So year after year, there's been proof of like, I'm not denting the population. So I don't really care about this one. Like, and we're not going crazy, you know? We're not having all, you know, 5 people in the boat limit out. We're not going back with 50 big fish, you know?
Right.
So we're still being conservative. We'll keep quite a few of them, but that's going to be like not one big fish fry. That's going to be fish for multiple weekends, you know?
Oh, gotcha.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, try to don't go out there and just be like, oh, we had a good day. And then like invite everybody, you know, over to slaughter 60 of them and eat them. Like, that can get out of control where you're just like, we did it and we're going to go do it again. But the nice thing I will say about when the water opens up this late. Is that when you get a long Memorial Day weekend, last year and like I think a couple of years before that, like they were just on the tail end. There might have been a couple of crappie here and there for that long weekend. And now they should just be starting. It's like Memorial Day weekend should be showing up and you should be able to go out and fish that crappie spawn.
And like prime crappie time, huh?
Yeah, prime crappie time.
Yeah, dude.
Hopefully it works out perfect that everybody gets a chance to get out there on the long weekend and have some fun. So, which also could
panfish.
Yeah, which also could cause a problem, you know? I've been fishing that spawn for a long time, but it's not like, it's always busy, but it's not Memorial Day weekend busy.
Gotcha.
Out fishing those holes.
Right.
But in certain lakes, I do know that there's a lot of spots that are a little bit deeper. And I think the smarter, bigger crappie spawn in those deeper locations.
Okay.
And everybody's picking them off in the shallows.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think it's easy pickings for certain fish that aren't quite as bright.
Haven't
And
quite
the
figured it out.
yep, and the smart ones that are slightly deeper, I don't think they have much of a problem. I think every year they're in their location, and I don't think anybody catches them. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly believe that there's like 3-4 pounders in the Lake Eye fish,
Jesus.
and you just have to know where to go. I don't think a
Holy
lot,
shit.
but I think there's a couple, and
Sure.
I think they've been there for a while because they're smart.
Right.
And I think that like gene line, whatever, the ancestry is like.
Yeah. I got you. The genetics. Yep.
Yep. This deep water under hump. I can't talk at all. That came out completely backwards. This deep water under hump.
That's what I heard you say, and I was
Jesus.
like, I don't know what that means, but I like it.
I'm quick enough to realize as soon as I said it, like, what is wrong with me? But like my brain is just not firing on all cylinders today. Oh, I did it at work even. I was like dropping off a package and then somebody said something and I like caught myself standing there for like 5 seconds before I go, that was weird silence, huh? Anyways, yeah. I was trying to make a joke and say that it's been passed down because some of them are like on deep water humps. The under still wants to come out.
Right.
It's all underwater.
It's all. It is only water.
Fish are underwater.
Fish
people.
only live underwater. So
you heard it here first. Tell your friends. Share it with everybody. Like and subscribe. We're spitting facts. Oh man. But yeah, some of them don't spawn way up in the shallows where the reeds and stuff are and the protected bays. Some of them will go on deep water humps. And I think that there's big fish down there. You just have to learn how. And that's one thing that makes me a little bit nervous about the forward-facing sonar. Because if you get the forward-facing sonar into the wrong hands, and those people are out there trophy hunting, like the guys that have their office filled with big cats from the safari that they went on, those same kind of dudes. Yeah, but you got it
at fish, but now turn that into fishing, right?
Yeah, where these guys are just out there picking off these monsters and then doing the taxidermy on the actual, going out there and catching giant fish after giant fish and then just having a whole room of like, look at everything I caught. Like, put them back. Get replicas made.
Put them back. We need them.
People believe you. Like, yeah, that's not the real fish, but they believe you, like.
Right. Because who would just pay for that? Like, that's just weird. Plus you have the photo with it. Like,
yeah.
Anyways.
Unless it's like a state record, then I'll allow it.
Sure.
Because a state record, you actually have to bring it to the DNR and they have to weigh it and all that other stuff. Like those fish,
so it's probably not going to survive.
Always die. I think.
Yeah, you have to take real damn care.
Right.
Real careful process to get that thing back in, but it's a 1 in a million fish anyway, right?
Right. Yep.
These other big ones, they're 1 in 100,000, and that's enough. That's enough.
Yep.
Keep it going.
And if anybody knows, if anybody has any experience or anybody works for the DNR and no, we can check it for the state record and like come to you or whatever, let us know. Put it in the comments. Tell us.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I would love to know if I'm ever lucky enough to catch a fish that I think is big enough to break a state record, what I should do if there's a possibility of not killing this fish. Because I'd love to set the record, get it out there, and then put it back in the water.
Sure.
Because like I said, big fish are laying a lot of eggs, and the real big ones are almost always female.
Oh. Yeah. I
It's
never thought about that. But yeah,
that's
they're
just how.
always like, every time you watch bass fishing, they're always like, that's a big girl. They just
Yep.
know right away. I'm sure there's other reasons why they know. I mean, I know how to identify a female fish, but for the most part. But the point is like, they just know. They're just like, no. They basically are just like, there's not a male fish out there that's this big. That's
Nope,
what it
it's
seems
always
like.
a big girl. Yep.
Yep.
The big females are always the ones that are out there roaming during the spawn, and that's the ones they're shooting for. And I don't know exactly like the science behind why a female gets bigger, but that's just what it is.
Right.
In
Seems to be pretty
humans,
common in
in
fish too.
humans, it's common that the men, like when you see a
Right.
giant person, it's almost always a man.
Right. Right.
That's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Right.
I never seen a lady the size of Shaq. So
Just saying.
yeah, just saying, the world record. He's walking around dunking. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But fish that are big are girls.
Let's talk about
That
the
is all.
spawn, the crappie spawn again, because one of your goals was get out early spawn,
Yeah.
pre-spawn. You
Uh-huh.
said like get out there and if anything, just try to learn it. I think you said,
Yeah.
if I'm recalling correctly. So like now what?
Still a possibility my window is just going to be smaller because
Ah, yeah,
the temperatures are going to rise and it's going to happen quick. It's going to go from pre-spawn to spawn and it's going to happen fast, but I have to be ready. Like I have to get out there. If somebody says like ice just went out, that's my day. Like now.
go now, pull the trigger.
And it might even be too late at that point. They might have already moved into the pre-spawn area. I don't know. Like I was talking about with the sunlight. I don't know if they know enough that they're just waiting, that they've already moved into the pre-spawn area. And as soon as the ice is out, the water is going to be warm enough in those areas
Mm-hmm.
to move up. It's solely based off, the spawn is based off of the water temp hitting the right temperature. But because the ice out is going to happen so late, and the air temperatures are most likely going to be in that like 70-degree range as soon as the ice is gone, and it's going to stick around that, it might happen super fast. It might just be like winter stage pre-spawn. Like they might never stop. They might go from their like winter areas to the pre-spawn area to spawn and just almost not even take a break.
Jeez.
It might just be like them moving. I would assume that there's probably like a day or two where they're going to stay there. And I think in when the spawn is about to start, sometimes they'll move up to kind of like look around, check it out.
Yep.
And then as soon as the sun goes down, the temperature will drop and they'll kind of like retreat. So they'll kind of move up and move back,
Yeah.
until they really commit anyways. But yeah, I just think it's probably going to happen really fast unless the temperature stays down. If the air temperature and stuff gradually rises just like it would any other spring, then we'll be on par. Then it'll be, the sun's going to be warmer. But my prediction is it's almost like we're going to skip spring.
That's what I was just saying the other day too, because we just had 50 for the first time in 126 days the week that we're recording this.
Yeah.
Which is a long stretch for anybody who doesn't know.
I know. I was talking about it too. I was telling other people, I'm like, I can't remember a year where we didn't have one weird day where all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, it'd be nice to have more of this, right? Like everybody, that's all you do in Minnesota. You just walk around and everybody like sees you outside and they're just like, am I right? It's yeah, exactly. You betcha. That's all we say. Just floating around in the rivers of melting snow. You betcha. Everybody loves it. But that's what it is around here. And it's always like that one day.
Right.
of like, boy, it'd be nice for this to stick around.
Right.
And
And
it
then
just
there's
never
just
even
gradual
happened.
warm up to June.
Yeah.
But like
And it just,
we're talking about hitting 60 the weekend before the podcast drops. So like as the podcast drops on Monday, right? It's like,
yeah,
oh, we finally hit 60. And then we're talking about maybe 70s. And then I heard there could be more snow. And it's like, oh,
I know.
that's none of that is the steady gradual thing that you're talking about. And that's why I wanted to really talk about like, dude,
I,
you made a goal out of this. And it's like, the
yeah,
window's gonna be. I guess now hearing you say it, the window's gonna be fucking tight.
tight. Yep. It's gonna, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's
If
all
it
we can
goes
say.
straight into the spawn, then that is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it, you know? It's
Right.
all about timing. And if Mother Nature says you have no time, then I guess I have no time. I don't know. So
So
better
you
luck
said,
next year, I guess.
well, actually, let's keep on the spawn a little bit for a second before I switch over to that because the water around here. I'm gonna bring it up
Yeah.
and see if you have any thoughts. So back to the spawn, sort of. Bass is 2 weeks after walleye. Like bass opener up here
Yeah.
is 2 weeks after walleye, so it's the 27th. That's normal, right?
Yep. It's always 2 weeks, but bass openers, when you can keep them, you can legally target them the same day as fishing opener.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
you've said that before. I remember that now. Okay.
Yep. So
So
you can,
you can sport fish them
yep, you can sport fish them. Yeah. Because
basically
bass,
when we say open water season's on.
yeah, that's another thing where bass spawn also. And that's why they don't want you to keep them because the bass are spawning. But the bass are hardy enough for the most part. Like they're just a different breed where
Yeah.
they don't get affected as much. You can catch them and release them
Yeah.
and they'll be fine.
Okay.
Because
They'll
they're
just
such
go back.
I think because they're such opportunistic feeders
Sure.
that they'll try to smash your lure. And as long as you release them properly or they didn't swallow your bait or whatever, that you'll be able to, drop them. Or, as long as you don't catch them with a lipless crankbait that has two hooks and then you try to remove it stupidly and then the thing flops and the other hook sets deep into your thumb and it takes you far too long to release the fish because there's nobody else there to help you and you're trying to figure out how to get it out and then you're just like, I guess I slowly open this O-ring to try to take the hook off of the bait because I don't know what else to do. My hand is stuck to the fish. My other hand is holding the fish and I can't put the fish down because it's going to flop. I really don't know what to do. And by the time you get all that handled, the fish dies. So that's just a story I heard once that happened to a guy.
Heard a story from a guy.
I heard a story from a guy that happened to. And yeah, next time I was terrified of pulling the hook out. So, okay, that for those of you guys that didn't figure it out, that was me. I did that. Exactly what happened. And I was terrified of pulling the hook out to have the barb go back the other way. I know you're supposed to like put pressure on it or whatever, but it went in the joint of my thumb. And I feel like there's got to be like tendons and stuff in there. And I was so terrified of like doing permanent damage. Like I wasn't scared of the pain. I was scared of what might happen. And I was like, I just can't. And then after I saw the bill, I was just, because I went to the ER to have them help me out. I'm just like,
Right.
next time I'm just going to tough it out and push it through the other way. That won't
God.
cause any damage. It will hurt like hell, but who cares? It's going to hurt less than $800. So that's what we're doing next time. If it ever happens again, that's getting pushed through.
Oh,
I'm just going to bite on something hard and I'm pushing it through and then we'll cut the hook off at the barb and be able to pull it out the other way. And we'll clean it up. And it wasn't like it was any better anyways. The anesthetics that they gave me barely numbed anything up. And the doctor was just like, you can feel that? And he's still like pushing the hook through. I'm like, yeah, I can feel it.
yes,
Just like, damn, I could have done that on my own. But I just wanted it done right so it didn't hurt me or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, anyways, the bass, you can put them back because they're going to go out and grab another meal quick.
Yeah. Okay.
If they need it, they can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is what I've encountered. Like
Right.
they release a lot easier. Like a musky northern, some of those fish, like when you you can't just put them back. You got to ease them in. And the walleyes a little bit hardier, but I think they swim off no problem, and then they just don't make it sometimes. So
Oh,
I think
gotcha.
the walleyes are just a little bit harder. I think they're a little bit finicky,
Yep.
more finicky eaters
Yep.
too.
Oh yeah,
Where
sure.
you
Okay.
you put them back in, and I think they'll eat if they have to, but sometimes they're just like, I don't really want to eat right now, and then like, well, you should, because now you're dead. I don't know for sure, but yeah.
Because now you're
Anyways,
dead.
the bass you can go and catch, but there is that window because they don't want you to catch them while they're spawning, because the males will be on the bed,
Hmm.
and that whole fight might screw up everything. They got eggs or whatever that they're protecting on the bed,
Oh,
and then you go and catch the male, and the male's fighting you directly over the bed, and
yep.
and
Kicking it around.
they may be close to other males, because males will spawn next to each other if they can't see each other well,
Right.
like if there's a log or whatever, but they generally like space out. So that's one thing where there's the males have their spawning beds spaced out, and the females are just roaming the flats.
Hmm.
And if that happens at the same time that we can go fishing and stuff, that could be a little bit of a problem as well, but
Hmm.
not as much.
Yeah.
They'll be all right.
They'll make it. They'll be okay.
Yep.
So, okay, the part where I kind of started talking about it, I was like, no, let's stay on spawning. Now
Yeah.
so the other part was right now. This is a weird thing that I've observed in my area. I live around uh, little pockets of water. There's a decent amount of ponds around me,
Yeah.
just in my general area, and a few of them dried out last summer because it was
Oh, really?
so dry. Like I'm talking mud beds, like desert
Damn.
lake bed dry.
That's nuts.
Those ones are water now.
Mm.
And anything that had water in it was is still ice. So obviously there's something to the thickness or like the depth of the water
Sure.
itself, the depth of the body of water itself.
Yeah.
But it screwed me up until we started talking here because I was just like, oh, we got open water on, the ponds around here. And then I was like, no, we don't. That's only a
Yeah.
couple of them. I know for sure the bigger ponds are rock solid still.
Yep.
Like I
Yeah.
saw someone ice fishing on it last weekend.
Right. Yep. Well,
And
and
so, yeah,
some
go
of
ahead.
them, I know what you're talking about is different. Like those ponds are filled up with water again because all that snow has been melting and stuff. So it's literally
Yeah.
probably just all runoff and whatnot. But
Yeah. And that's what made
there,
me think about like, isn't that mean there's like snow running into the lakes? But I suppose the lakes are just so big they can handle it.
yeah. And well, that's what happens. All the snow and ice that's on top of it just melts,
Yeah.
and then it goes into it, which is good for some lakes that are, because of what you were talking about with the dry and stuff. It's good
Right.
for some lakes, bad
Mhm.
for others. Some lakes don't need all that extra shit, and like the rivers
Right.
for sure. If it does get hot fast and it starts melting, that's when the rivers get gnarly. All that
Yeah.
water starts coming down fast, and they start flooding, and it goes,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
They'll Next week you'll start seeing it on like your weather apps or whatever if you live
The
in
flood
this
warnings are going
area.
to go out.
Yep, they're
Oh
just
yeah,
gonna be
they've
like,
already been
watch
talking
out.
about it on the
Yep.
news. If you pay attention to the weather, the news weather, they're already like, that's a lot of snow, and we're getting deep into the season. The sun's getting like they're saying all the stuff you're saying. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't think about that right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
And for the lakes, like when I was talking about with the warm water or the warm rain,
mm-hmm.
like that'll help melt the snow. But if that rain comes down and it melts, like you have rain melting snow, so like water making more water
Water making more
for the
water,
for the rivers, it's gonna get
right?
gnarly.
Yeah,
That's when like you see cars all of a sudden just being like, oh yeah, we, because it happens fast. I don't know if you ever seen the videos of it, but like a couple of chunks of snow like shift and move, and the ice starts moving or whatever. Like you can literally see it. There's videos of like the river looks kind of normal, and then all of a sudden it's just like giant river is
just
just
like Rager.
Oh, dude, and it just comes out of nowhere, and everybody's
No, I
like, "It
haven't.
looked like there was nothing, and then all of a sudden my car got pushed away."
No, I haven't seen that.
Mhm.
That's fucking crazy.
It gets crazy.
I can
Yeah.
picture it in my head, but I can't say that I've ever seen video of it. That's
It's not
nuts.
yeah, it's not to the full extent, but have you ever seen the movie The Good Dinosaur?
Oh, yeah, for
I've
sure.
watched it like a million times because my son
Yeah.
loves it,
I
but
know.
it's
Us
like
too. We just
where
got out of that phase. So
yeah, there's the landslide. The
the
whole
landslide.
landslide
Yep.
goes into the river, and that all that mass going into the water raises the water level, and that water rushes down,
Right.
and it's just taking trees and everything with it as it's going down. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a lot like that, but just on a very not a very small, but a way smaller
A
scale.
smaller scale because it wasn't
Because
just a chunk of earth that fell into.
right, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it gets gnarly.
Yeah.
Um, I forgot. I feel like I got off on a tangent there about flooding, but that you
Oh,
asked something else first.
no, we were just we were talking about the water levels and stuff like that because that's yeah. No, you're good. I
Okay.
think you
Oh,
maybe
I
you had a
was
point in your head.
yeah, I was talking about the ponds and how
Yeah.
your ponds, a couple of them are open because it's runoff, but there are
Right.
some
Yep.
lakes and ponds like where they're a little bit smaller that are already open on the edges because
Yep.
there's a spot um that I drive by all the time where there's like two like bubbler aerator deals,
Oh,
and that literally never freezes all year round around that spot.
yeah.
And that
They just keep
that
them running year round.
yep, and
Okay.
that area has opened up quite a bit already.
I bet it
Even though
has.
it hasn't got really hot, it's just that sunshine is helping it open up. So
Right.
yeah, that place, that one opens real fast because it's partially open. So, like any lake that's like that, where it has a good head start, as soon as it
Or
starts to
yeah,
get
like a
warm
thin
and the
ice
sun's
spot.
allowed to, yeah, and the sun's allowed to penetrate down, because the dark bottoms too, if there's the, some of the bays have like decaying weeds and everything, and it's almost like a black muck on the
Yep.
bottom,
Yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
black absorbs the light, so you got the sun going in and it's heating it from the bottom and it's heating it from the top. Like the
Right.
sun's rays are literally heating the sun or the water on the top, and then the rays are penetrating down to the bottom, and the bottom's heating up, and it happens
Yep.
fast.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think about that. I mean, obviously I was kind of joking with the like, are we going to get an open water season? I'm
Right.
being extreme, but I was kind of asking seriously,
Yeah.
are we going to be open for fishing opener?
There's a
And it
chance we're
seems
not.
crazy that May would not have open water, but
Right.
you already said in the beginning, like there's a chance up north that they just got 10 inches again the week prior to this podcast dropping.
Yeah, for sure. There have been times up north where I have went and it was like the ice opened like the week before we were able to go out. And
Jesus.
that was not a year like this.
Sure.
So I think there's a real good possibility that it's probably going to hurt the tourist sections too for some of the bigger lakes up north, where they're
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah.
literally, you can't come up here and ice fish, and you can't go out on a boat yet either.
Right. Because it's just
So
not safe. Like
yeah,
whether it's open right there in front of the cabin or not, there could be floating chunks out there, and your Lumacraft just ain't set up to take on any kind of ice
right.
sheet.
Yeah, because the problem is if it shifts, that's
Right.
the problem. You can go
Like
and
we
sit
talked
in the
about
open
with
water,
the
you're fine. But though, if that ice shifts,
yeah.
Titanic, bro.
Yeah, yeah, because like we talked about with the ice fishing season when it opened, right? Remember those
Yeah,
people who there was like 200 yards or some crazy shit. It wasn't that big, but it was like 20
yeah.
yards of just open water. They
Oh
walked
yeah.
out onto the ice
Uh huh.
and then they had to make a bridge. They had to make a makeshift bridge on that one
Yep.
resort and go and get people because it shifted. And it's just like that could happen on the lakes up north
Yeah.
come opener. It's like fucking A.
That's another weird thing where like all year long people have been talking about how like the ice is kind of shitty. Like the snow came down and it never let it freeze properly. So it did stuff like that and opened up.
Yeah.
So we've also had like this weird shitty ice with like way too much snow the whole time. So I literally, I'm not even ashamed to say it. I never went ice fishing.
Yeah, it was
Not
too hard.
once.
Nope,
It
I
was
had that on my
way
goal, and it's not to say we couldn't do it in the early in the late half of 2023,
yeah,
early season. So I'm not scratching that goal yet, but like,
right.
nope, I'm not bummed that we didn't do it either, because I
No.
I can't think of more than one or two opportunities where we could have made a realistic go of it. And I'm not saying just
Yeah.
because of the weather, right? Schedules and all that shit too. It was tough to navigate ice fishing, I thought, this year.
There
So if you
was
got out there as much as
yeah.
you got out there, good for you in your permanent house.
Well, it was like every time there was like maybe a glimmer of like, oh, we could go this week, you know, I think Saturday will work. And then they're just like, Saturday we're expected to get like another 6 to 7 inches. You're like, what the hell, dude? I can't. No, I'm not.
Right. I'm not
So
going fishing in a blizzard.
yeah, I'm not trying to get out there and then get stuck and then just like I like fishing, but I'm not that hardcore into ice fishing that I need to go out into a blizzard and
Right.
yeah.
Right.
If you have a
And just get away.
snowmobile, that's a different story, because then you
Sure.
can get out there when the snow is on there and stuff. But
Yep.
driving out there is what I'm all about. Like I want it to freeze properly. I don't want any reports of people saying like the ice is kind of shitty. Like no, I'm not driving my
Right.
truck out there.
I want to feel totally safe when I'm out
Yep.
there.
I don't do kind of shitty. We're
Yep.
oh man.
Exactly. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Um, so yeah, I mean, we don't have to drag on the fishing topic and make it super long and to meet our normal hour quota. I don't want to make it feel that way. But before we do jump off of this topic, I thought about this prior to it, and then you just said it, or prior to the podcast, right? Um, the tourists, the tourist destinations, this is usually busy. This is a big weekend for fishing. So the talking specifically about the walleye opener and how like some things might not be open. Do you think that it's going to be a busy weekend on the water? Are people going to come from up north? Like, what are your expectations if you get out on? That's what I'm really asking. What's your expectation if you get out on opener?
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be busy.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
still going to be gnarly
As
or
long as
extra
it's
gnarly, maybe.
as long as it's like decent weather. If it's warm,
Yeah.
it might be extra gnarly. I don't think we're the only people that didn't go ice fishing. I think there's a lot of people that cannot wait for the water, like to ice to open up,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
didn't hear anybody talking about it even. Like I'm not out there like talking to a bunch of different fishermen
Right.
either. Like
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of friends that are hardcore, so I'm not hearing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're saying.
even just in casual conversation, there's always been a couple of people that like, oh, I got out, or I would see stuff posted on
Yep. Social media.
Instagram or social media,
Yep.
whatever platform and stuff, and you just didn't see much of that at all this year. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people got out there, but it
Yeah.
was like
For
people that
sure.
I didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people that can't wait.
For the open water.
And we're all so sick of the snow, man. Everybody wants to just be everybody. Like I can't remember a time in the past where all of the neighbors are out there clearing off the driveway, literally yelling to each other, "I'm over this shit. Sick of it." Everybody's just looking at each
The
other
whole
like,
neighborhood.
right?
Even being a
Shit.
winter guy, I've said this many times over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Even being a winter guy, I
Yeah.
am wishing and thinking of spring days.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it to
It's
open
been
up.
far too much. Like just having it around is one thing, but having to clear the snow and like starting from square one so many different times where you're like, all right, I cleared the snow. All right, I cleared the snow. Like, and this last time, dude, my snowblower, like nothing would even engage. I'm like, so I guess we have to shovel. and the grater wedge was giant. And I'm like, no, like, how can we make this winter shittier? Now we got to go shovel and stuff, but at least like my neighbor, one door down, has a plow truck, and he didn't do the whole driveway, but he came over real quick and just like pushed the grater ridge over to the side. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I do not want to shovel this, because it was like up to my chest, man.
Oh my God.
It was gnarly. And it's just like, oh, I'm so done. I'm so done. And now you're still talking about it, and so is other people, where they're just like, you go get warm. Well, there's a chance that we're gonna get more snow.
But there's a chance there's more snow. That's what I heard. I heard some people talking about there's some snow in the forecast.
I know.
We'll see
if there's nothing we can do about it. But
real or not.
Man, it has been a winner for sure.
It is. Again, back to the reason why I opened it with, are we going to get an open season? Is because that's the attitude we're all feeling right now. Is we're feeling bogged down by winter, which is why I wanted to have this, because usually around now we're talking about spring fishing and stuff like that. And I was like, I just have to ask the question of, like, now what? Because this is nuts. I don't know what's going on out there, and I just wanted to have a conversation about it, because it's coming up. I mean, the seasons are opening soon.
Yeah.
But the weather doesn't seem to be turning yet.
My little boat is on the side of the house, and the snow is still over there, like over waist deep. Like, it's on a trailer. I need it to melt. I can't move it. It's stuck.
You can't even get your boat out right now.
There's nothing I can do. Like, I wanted to get it out and like do stuff with it, but there's nothing I could do. It's sitting over there. I gotta wait for the snow to go away a little bit at least.
Right.
I can try to shovel a path once it gets a little bit lower, but right now, I mean, I got like hours worth of work to try to shovel
just to get it out of the snow. Yeah, for sure.
Because the snowblower is not going to do anything to it. Like, that snow has like melted and then like refroze so many times that it's all relatively solid too.
Yeah, it is.
So there's nothing I can do until it warms up, and then like once it gets crunchy and starts melting and stuff, then maybe I can actually shovel it and get rid of it. But right now, we're just in limbo.
Yeah,
nothing we can do.
We are in limbo. That's a well put. Maybe that's what I'll call this: the limbo state of Minnesota fishing right now.
Yes,
that's what this is. That's what this topic will be called. All right, Tim. Let's jump into the random take. Like I said, we don't have to do an hour every single time. We can do whatever we fucking want. This is our shit.
Yeah, but didn't we do an hour?
Oh, we did. We always do over an hour once we count in the fishing news. I mean, the actual fishing topic itself.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like, on Wednesdays, usually about 60 minutes, 59, minutes. Yep. But yeah. So anyways, let's get into the random take, where we are going to just broad topic talk about ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Ramen dinner, ramen noodles, ramen in general.
Ramen.
All right, hit the break.
Yeah.
Here we are, patreon.com/realaftv. That's right, patreon.com/realaftv. Real like fish and real. We are on Patreon, and we are coming to tell you, and by we, I mean me and Tim, Real AFTV podcast here, coming to you to say we have a Patreon as low as $1 a month, but hey, you could go up to $100 if you really wanted to get crazy with it. It's there. Go over to our website, realaf.tv. You can find the Patreon link right there, or go to Patreon and look us up, Real AFTV, Real Like Fish and Real. And we have things like, for $50 a month, we will customize, what kind of tackle is it, Tim? We have some in the warehouse right now that we haven't actually ran
a lure. Yes.
Lure. Thank you.
It is a crankbait.
Crankbait.
Yes, we will customize a crankbait for you.
At the $50 tier. Also, Patreon, if you're new to the whole Patreon thing, if you're on a podcast, you're probably not that new to it. But Patreon is something that you can jump in and out of. Like, if you do $50 this month, bam, you get the custom lure. But you don't want to do that for the whole year. You jump down to the $5 a month tier, where you're going to get early access content. You can help vote on the random take, one of the random takes for the month. And, we'll keep up with you on Patreon. as well, like just a direct Patreon contact. There's communication you do only through Patreon. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you're new, there's just a little intro to it.
Yeah, and to clarify that custom painted lure is a fully custom painted lure, like the pattern and everything. That won't be just something that we have a lure that we just like write Real AF TV on.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Thank you for clearing that up, because yes, it's a slug, for lack of a better word, right now, and it will be turned into something.
Right.
I'm not good at the whole fishing lingo, so maybe Tim, you could evaluate on that a little, or like elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it has no color, and I will give it color.
There we go.
It will look like a bait fish imitation of some sort. It might not be exactly colored. It might not be realistic. Some of that stuff out there that the different companies work with makes different stuff, but it will be a custom painted lure, and it won't look like dog shit. Because not to be too full of myself, but I have some talent.
You have some artistic talent. Yes.
Yeah,
very true. And before we wrap up the ad here for patreon.com/realaftv, we do have a goal too. We're goals right now. We only have one goal set, but there is, if we get up to 10 patrons this year, or this month even, which would be great, so share with a friend, we will do a live stream AMA while fishing. We are capable of live streaming fishing. We've done it before.
Yes.
Check out the YouTube channel. And we'll just do an AMA. We'll schedule it. We'll do all the communications through Patreon, and we'll go live with a AMA of undetermined length at this point while fishing. So if you can get us up to 10 patrons, if you know friends and family and stuff like that got a few bucks to kick our way, let them know. RealAF.tv. Scroll down a little bit. There's the Patreon link. It'll shoot you right over. Sign up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Real AF TV podcast, show about fishing random takes from the land 10,000 lakes. Welcome to the random take, where we are gonna just simply talk about ramen. That's it. That's the topic.
Ramen noodles.
But ramen noodles specifically. So I'll kick it off like I usually do, with okay, what is my thought process of this? Like, how does this happen? Mostly random this time. Mostly kind of just popped into my head. But the main motivator was, we were watching Tournament of Champions, and I don't know if you know what that is on the Food Network, but it's like a bracket.
Okay.
It's like a bracket show of,
I think I've seen it before.
chefs.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's pretty dope.
Okay.
And this was my kicker. Watching that show, it was the kicker that said, "Oh, you know what? No, write this down, because there's been a series of things that have been happening. Like, I don't go into work that often. Like, I don't go into the office that much. I'm still a lot of remote work.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when I go in, I just bring a ramen. It's cheap. It's fast. It's delicious. These are my opinions."
You're not wrong. They may be opinions, but they're not wrong opinions.
Now, I don't get the cup ramen in the styrofoam and shit like that. I don't like the idea of microwaving styrofoam. I know if it's not like hot cheese or oil or something like that, usually microwaving styrofoam's not a problem. But cheese, oil, anything that melts will melt the styrofoam too, right? I guess. Ramen.
I think a lot of the plan though is you microwave the water. I think you pour hot,
and then you're supposed to put hot water into the.
I think you pour the hot water onto the noodles.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes way more sense.
Because I remember when we were like traveling back in the day, there was times where we would use the coffee maker.
That's right.
Yeah. Just put let the hot water drip onto the noodles and
straight into the noodles even sometimes.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. That was
Oh
fucking
yeah.
sick. It totally worked.
Yeah, it was. It
Worked real
totally
good.
works. Yep.
There's your first hot ramen tip of the night
Yeah.
or day,
Trying to,
morning, whenever you listen to the
I mean, you
podcast.
got to make sure too, like there's that hot plate on the bottom, so you can't just put it like straight up on that hot plate, you know. So that's a little bit of a trick too. You
Right.
got to make sure you got something underneath there, like a coaster or whatever.
Right. Right.
Because
Don't melt that styrofoam cup from the bottom up while hot
Right.
water's dripping into it.
Right.
That could be a
Yeah.
shitty situation.
Yep. But it works. Whatever.
Totally works. I remember
You
doing
just
that.
yeah,
Works
you just
great.
need to know because a lot of times like it'll be like fill to the line or whatever. So you just need to know how much water that is, you know, or you can just put in a bunch of water and then just pay attention and move the cup once it hits the fill line.
Right.
So, because if
Yeah.
you put too much water in there, the coffee pot doesn't know it.
Right. It's just going to keep going. And you don't want to overfill your ramen, man. It fucking changes flavors so fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
if you
I
don't
have a
the
specific
seasoning to
bowl
water
that I
ratio,
take to work because I know how to measure into it.
there you go. That's what you need. You need to know. It's very true. That packet is made for like a certain amount of water.
Yeah.
It's got to be the right, you know.
Yeah.
Over seasoning or not enough seasoning, like it will screw up your dish. It has to be right in the middle. You have to be perfect.
I agree.
Perfect.
That's the sound effect we need. Perfect. Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I just my like little line that I wrote down here is ramen noodles, cheap piece of shit or great culinary time.
Both.
Both.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be fancy to be good. You can
I agree.
it can be a cheap piece of shit and still be tasty.
I agree. It's still good.
Yeah, Kraft mac and cheese, that Blue Box Blues, that's cheap and I love it. That's still my favorite.
And I still eat it.
Go to, yep, all the time. Like I have a hard time saying no to that one. Where my son will just be like, "Can we have mac and cheese and hot dogs?" And I'm like, "Drive a hard bargain, bro." Just like, yeah, we can have mac and cheese and hot dogs.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Do you guys have ramen?
We just had mac and cheese and hot dogs yesterday, so you know,
So
yeah. But let's try not to do it 3 days in a row, okay? We do have. I don't think we've made much ramen. I don't know if Beckett has had ramen.
Oh,
but I
my
think
daughter
he'll
loves
like it.
ramen, man.
Ramen's
It's crazy.
the shit. He'll love it. If I make ramen, I know he'll like it.
Yeah.
I just don't think we just don't do it much. I don't know.
Yeah. So when you say make ramen, because we're cookers. We like to cook.
Yeah.
We're not chefs, I guess. But
That's right.
But we're cookers.
Yeah.
So when you say make ramen, what do you mean?
Well, I've made a couple of different kinds, but it's always like the ramen that I've always made has been like the like plastic wrap kind, you know, where it's just like a plastic package. You rip it open, it's just that square.
Yeah, just the square. Yep. And it's like it's either bright pink or bright blue or red or something.
Orange. The ones I always have are yellow or orange, I think.
Yeah. Chickens.
But that's just like the flavor of the broth packet that you put in there.
Yeah, it is.
From there you can go wherever, but that broth is kind of heavy duty sometimes. So there have been times where I just put in the water.
Yeah.
And then whatever.
Just
take
use
a frozen
the
bag of vegetables. Yeah. Dude, you know peanut sauce?
Yeah.
Do you know that that's basically just peanut butter?
Yeah. I didn't. But I've never done that before. So now you got me making notes over here.
so the same company that makes the sriracha, like the sriracha everybody knows, you know?
Yeah, like the sriracha with the rooster on it.
Yes. That same brand makes like a chili paste.
Yep.
And then you take a little bit of that chili paste and you put it with peanut butter. And then you heat that up and it's like this spicy peanut sauce. And then you put that with the ramen. And then I'm getting hungry is what that makes. So it's good, dude.
Dude.
It's just, you just got to get the right kind of peanut butter because
Really?
I just think Skippy's like almost a little bit too sweet. Like it's almost like kind of like a sickly sweet. Like I think Jif is a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
for me personally. I guess it's probably all just personal preference,
Yeah.
but I prefer something that was almost like if you could get like a natural one, I bet would be better. I don't want as much sugar. I want it to just be nutty. I don't want it to be
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
sweet, you know?
Yes, I know.
I bet if you use crunchy peanut butter, that'd be cool too. Just having like little pieces of actual peanut. Like once it melts down to a sauce, you'd have like a little crunch.
Yeah, because a lot of Chinese food has peanuts in it. And I was like, I don't know if I'd want that crunch. But when you say like chunky peanut butter, it's not usually like whole chunks though, right? Like, I mean, it's not like a whole
Yeah.
peanut inside it, right?
No, it's just little tiny. Yeah. It's just little tiny.
Yeah.
It's like they grind up the peanut. I think they almost just like put chopped peanuts in there. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they just like
they take
don't.
the regular peanut butter and then they have the chopped peanut butter bin and they just
Yeah.
run it through. And
Yeah.
they just let
I
it
think they
pour
do.
in.
I think they just like bring back some of the chopped peanuts and just like throw it back in there. Cause I think that's the difference between like chunky and extra chunky, but I bet it would be good.
Yeah.
Cause I've had burgers too where they put like I've tried a couple of the PB&J burgers because I was like, that sounds weird as hell. But
Yeah, I know.
like the legit one that I had one time, I believe it was at the White Horse. It's a bar here in town.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like, it was like a jalapeno jam with
Oh,
like
yeah.
crunchy
Fuck
peanut
yeah.
butter. And it was like
So
a runny
good.
peanut butter, but it had that crunchy, it had like some of the actual nuts in there and stuff.
And you like
Where it
that?
was, I thought it was really good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
It was impressive. Like,
Okay.
it was still a little bit
Might give that a
weird
shot.
where I don't think I'd go out of my way to be like, I want this burger all the time. But when I ate it, I was like, this works. But I've had another one where they literally just like put peanut butter and jelly on it. And I'm just like, I don't think this is what you're supposed to do. You just literally put hamburger on a peanut butter jelly
Inside
sandwich.
of peanut butter and jelly? You got to be kidding
And
me.
that's not right.
That ain't right. That
I
ain't
think
right
I
at all.
lost you.
Okay, we had this fucking glitch that hit, but let's get back to ramen and spicing it up. Not
Ramen
spicing it up necessarily,
noodles.
but like taking it to the next level. Because you said you take the packet, you take the square bag, and you tune that up. I've done
Yeah.
that from time to time.
Yep.
I gotta
Yeah,
try this
dude.
peanut butter thing you've been talking about though. We've done the basics, like take one of those packets. We got mushrooms. Throw some mushrooms in it.
Sure.
Throw some green onions in there. I got a hot
Okay.
tip from a guy at work.
Yeah.
Anchovies, dude.
Ooh. I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't fucked with anchovies much. But I
Good.
hear good things sometimes. Just a little salty fish. I
Yeah.
bet it would be good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I had to because they are salty and they're really salty.
Yeah.
You got to kind of chop them up and mix them in there, and kind of you got to kind of give them the business a little bit so the chunks
Sure.
come off and float around. So then you actually get that fishy taste.
Yeah.
And you might need to add a little bit of extra water too, in this
Okay.
case, because I know we were just talking about how the packets are real. Like you got to be right on with the packet, otherwise it's too watery or it's too salty.
Yep.
You got to have you got to know your spot.
Yep.
But because the anchovies are salty, yeah, you might need a little bit of water in there.
Yeah.
It's not bad though.
Little bit of extra water, or try to like maybe cut back on a little bit of that seasoning.
Right.
Don't shake the whole thing up in there.
Just don't shake the whole packet in. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd add a little bit of water.
So I have known people too that actually don't. I thought it was crazy, like way too seasoned. Like it's not for me. But instead of like making a broth, like draining the water completely and shaking the season and like throwing a little butter in there. And it was like, damn, dude, that's a little bit much for me, but if that's what you're into, go for it.
So
but like
the
that's
packet straight on there with just a little butter, huh?
Like, yeah, and like there was enough water like left in the noodles and stuff to kind of dissolve it and stuff, but like super flavorful noodles, and then you're just rocking the noodles, like no broth.
Holy
which is like,
shit.
yeah, I tried it. I was like, damn, that is way, that is not, that is
That sounds
salty.
so intense, dude.
Yeah, not for me.
No, I've let it sit sometimes too long with not
Yeah,
enough water, and
yeah,
it got thick. Like the noodles just absorbed a lot of it, and
sure.
so it got kind of thick.
Okay.
And I wasn't a fan of that
No,
already. So,
no, yeah, I could see
holy
that.
shit.
Getting weird textures and stuff.
It was a
Yeah,
weird texture, but also the flavor had turned up a notch too
yeah,
because I didn't have enough water in the first place, which is how it got like
yeah. I
thick,
should say too,
swollen
like
noodles.
when I do the like that peanut sauce that I've done before, that's
Oh
a
yeah.
whole like, don't use the packets, drain the water, and then go from there. Like you just have those ramen noodles are just like a different texture noodle
Uh-huh.
than, you can't just use any pasta, you know? It's like the ramen noodle's just different.
Yeah.
It's gotta be
100%.
that noodle.
Yes,
If
it
you did
does.
like uh fettuccine peanut sauce, it'd be like, what? That's weird. You know, or like a spaghetti, like
Yeah,
it
it'd be
just wouldn't,
fucked up.
it just wouldn't work. It's got to be that
No.
ramen. So
So you're saying you that peanut sauce one, that is a hey, I'm just using the noodles. That packet's garbage at this point.
exactly, yep. That
Yeah.
seasoning packet
Okay.
is getting tossed out. Like
Yeah.
we're not
That's
putting any of
totally a
that.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Although maybe a little bit of it would work. You know, because I was just
Sure.
talking about how I don't want it so sweet. Maybe a little bit of that would work. Maybe I should try that next time. Just a little sprinkling. Just keep a little bit of
Yeah.
that chicken flavoring in there.
Right. Just a little bit of that bouillon to take it up to like a
Yeah,
different salty notch.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe even like cook it in the broth and then just completely dump out the broth.
Oh. And
Maybe.
then just go so then you just go with the peanut sauce, the spicy peanut sauce just straight up on the noodles
Yeah.
and
Well, that's what I do is straight up on the noodles. Just like I just
right,
boil it
right.
in water, but maybe add a little bit of the seasoning to give it a little bit of that chicken zhuzh in the noodle,
Yeah.
you know, and
That's a
then
good
the peanut
idea,
sauce.
dude.
Maybe I should try it
Shit.
that way. Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
And I saw too, like where they're, you know, the traditional one is like, you know, heat up oil and then they dump the oil on it, dude. That's how
Oh
they
my
cook a
god,
lot
you
of the
sent me
stuff.
that. You sent me a
The
video of
hot
that.
oil, yeah, you heat up the oil and then you just pour the hot oil on it to cook it. And then instead of
That's
like draining oil,
fucking
you just
crazy.
eat it with the oil in there. And it's like, dude, that makes sense. Cause
Oh,
like when you
so you
think
just
about
eat
the
it
eight,
like that? Like
yeah, dude,
you're
you
supposed to
don't,
just put enough oil on it.
you
Do
just
you
heat,
add no, you can't add water because
no,
it's
it's like
hot
you just
oil.
heat the oil and like the oil itself is like what cooks it. You just pour the hot oil on it. I
And
know,
then
dude, it
yeah,
blew my mind.
obviously.
I'm like, what the hell? You just cook it like that? Like you don't cook it in hot oil, you pour hot oil on there? Like obviously you couldn't do it with like raw fish or nothing unless it was like sushi grade stuff, then that's a
Right.
different story. But
Right.
um yeah, it's crazy. I watched a
Holy
bunch of
shit.
those videos.
I didn't realize that was how you did it. Like I didn't
Yeah.
realize you just ate it straight out of the oil after that.
Yeah.
I thought there was just something more to it and that they just showed because it was just like a short reel or whatever. It was just a short clip video of like, look at cook ramen in oil. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I
Yeah.
assumed it came out and then more was done to it after that.
No, they
That's
like put together
fucking
the
wild
whole
to think
ramen
about.
dish and then like the egg that they have in there or whatever, like they cook it with the hot oil by pouring the hot oil over it into the bowl and then just
Right.
eating straight out of that bowl like the oil's in there.
I just didn't comprehend that when I
Yeah,
watched the video.
it's
That's
crazy.
fucking wild.
Which makes sense because like you deep fry stuff, and I'm sure deep fried whatever is taking on
Right.
all that oil, and this is just like you're just eating the oil with it. It's awesome though. It looks so good to me. I'm just like, yes, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
dude. Yeah. I want
Yeah,
to try that.
yeah,
I didn't put it all together. I'd have to rewatch it and like to feel like I'm doing it properly.
yeah, yep.
That's nuts.
And I
Anyways.
sent you that hack that one time too, where this one I know we were talking about like not microwaving the styrofoam. I'm kind of on the same page. Like I don't like the idea of it either, but
Mhm.
the styrofoam itself won't heat up. It's just like you were saying, whatever's in it, if it gets hot enough, it will melt the styrofoam.
Right.
So if whatever you have in there is hot enough, it could cause a problem. But get one of those cup of noodles. You eat your noodles when you have the leftover like little vegetables
Yeah.
and the like broth and stuff.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
crack a couple of eggs in there, like whip it up,
Oh yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
microwave it again, and then you just have like this fluffy egg that took on all the flavor and stuff, and then you can
That's-
just eat that egg.
yeah. A
That looks
kick-ass egg
good too.
scramble.
Yeah, which
That's what that is.
I haven't had it, but depending on the flavor, I picture it being like a. You ever had egg foo young?
I definitely have, but I can't
Yeah.
picture the taste in my
It's
mouth.
almost kind of like just like an oily egg that has like some vegetables. Like it feels like that's what it almost is. And
Oh.
so like I feel like if you just put egg in there and you microwave it, like we're talking about like just a cup of egg foo young is what it like when
Is
I
what it
initially
is.
saw it is like I bet that's what it's real close to.
Dang.
But egg foo young is almost like a little bit bland. I wonder if this would be almost more flavorful because you're dealing with like chicken broth. I don't know how
Right.
you make egg foo young, but I've had it at like the Chinese buffet,
Right.
and it's just kind of like it's like egg, but you can tell that it's like been cooked in oil, and then it has a couple of little vegetables in it. But it's normally like not really that flavorful, but it comes with like a brown sauce. What that sauce
Huh.
is, I don't know, but it's good.
Maybe I haven't had it then.
Yeah. Well,
I've never heard of it. But
yeah, I don't.
now I'm taking all your info in and I'm processing it to the point where I'm kind of like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It just sounds
It's like one of
familiar
those.
now.
It's kind of like how you got the sweet and sour chicken,
Hmm.
where the sweet and sour chicken is just that like breaded and fried chicken, and then you have
Yeah.
that red sauce that you can like
Yeah.
dip it in or pour it
That
on.
you're supposed to. Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing where like there's the egg foo young, and then like next to it, the ones that I've had at least have
Yep.
like a brown. It's almost like a really thin gravy, but I don't know how
Oh,
they make it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
I have to watch out for that.
yeah.
But speaking of eggs, do you ever put eggs in your ramen? I tried to poach one once and do it in ramen, and that
So
is
yeah,
hard. Just poaching eggs is fucking hard, so it didn't go
yeah.
very well.
Oh
But I tried to
hey,
poach it in the ramen. You know what I'm saying?
I just saw a hack for that where I can't remember if you put oil in the water to help it stay like more buoyant, but you
Vinegar,
take your water.
right?
Maybe it is vinegar, but
For
that's
poaching an egg, it
you
is
put
vinegar. So
you put.
yeah, keep going.
Oh yeah, maybe vinegar does make it more buoyant, but vinegar is what you put in the water when you're poaching the egg, like just straight up. But what I
Right.
saw is get the silicone cupcake wrappers, and you can like
Okay.
float them on the surface, and you put the egg in there, and it's like poaching it, except for you don't have to do all that like spinning the water to make them like sit in the middle.
Hey.
It sits there and it gets cooked by like hot water, so it's still essentially
Yeah.
poaching it, but you're cooking it in the silicone, and it just makes it easier. It contains everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, dude. I don't have any of those, but I was
Me
like,
neither,
oh,
but I
now
know
I
what you're
have a
talking
reason to
about.
buy
I've
them.
never seen a single one by itself, but if you get like a set of them, you could probably just cut them into floaty little cups.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. Like sometimes when you're poaching an egg, you're stirring the water and it creates that like whirlpool. So you have to put one egg in there. And I saw them doing this with like 5 of them, so you can like, they're poaching like
Oh.
5 eggs at once. Like, damn, dude, that's what I need to do. Cause when you're making eggs Benedict at home,
Yeah.
you're like, what am I going to do? Poach one egg at a time? I guess you get this one and then you go ahead and eat while I'm
Yep.
making more. Like
Will I
instead
make
you
another
can,
one?
we,
Yes,
we
that's how you
poach,
do it.
yeah, poach like 5 eggs at a time and boom. Yeah. So most of the time I just fry eggs when I'm talking about eggs Benedicts. I just fry them, sunny side up or whatever,
Right.
or
Yeah.
not sunny side up, but like, what is it? Where you turn it over,
Over
but
easy.
over easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do them over easy real quick.
Yeah.
So then you can make a
Like
bunch
take
of
it off
them
the
at
heat,
time.
flip it over, just let it get that last little bit of clear and the egg top
Yep.
white or the yolk top white. And
Yep.
yeah, I did that
Exactly.
in ramen once too. I did
Yeah.
just a fried one, just tried it out, like whatever.
Sure.
It doesn't work out that well, but I do love the yolk actually in the ramen.
Oh, I bet
Like
that's
that.
good.
That
Yeah.
changed it a lot.
I
I
haven't
thought it was
tried
sweet.
I haven't tried a lot of that stuff. I haven't messed around with the ramen on that. Like with stir fry, I put egg in my stir fry all the time. Make
Oh
stir
yeah.
fry with I'll buy the the like um ready to go like udon noodles where
Yeah.
you just like microwave those little pouches,
Yep.
or even not microwave them. Sometimes I'll just throw them in there and like throw a lid on with the vegetables and stuff. Everything's cooking. It just kind of like steams the noodles, makes them soft that way.
Yep.
But I cook the chicken and then I cook a bunch of eggs and I just kind of like scramble them up in the pan. Don't whisk them, just crack them all and then just kind of like scramble it so it looks like it does
Yeah.
at the Chinese restaurant where they're like kind of you see the white and the yellow.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who scrambles what, so I don't want to be like the way Americans. I don't know
Right. 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 No,
who
I
invented
gotcha.
it, but normally we're like whisking the eggs together, and then our scrambled eggs are just all yellow. But when you go to
Yep.
like the Chinese restaurant, their scrambled eggs are the white and yellow because they just crack them in there
Right.
and just kind of like almost just kind of stir it around a little bit.
Yep.
So I do the same thing. It's just I crack them all in the pan and then just kind of like break all the yolks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that would be good. Yeah, just cook one egg or poach an egg like you said, and just throw that over the top. And
Yeah.
that's how I saw um that ramen being cooked online. That hot oil. They like crack the egg, put it on the top, like just raw, and then the hot oil they pour over and that hot oil cooks the egg. Must
Oh,
cook it
yeah.
just enough that it like leaves it all runny and stuff, but
Right.
I don't know if it's I would assume it's safe if it's hot enough. I don't know.
Yeah. Eggs
It
are
looks a
in that
little bit like,
weird
damn,
space.
did you really cook that fast? But I guess if it's hot oil, I don't know, man. I watched the
Yeah.
video, they did it, and I was like, okay. I haven't tried
Right.
it
Right. Right.
personally, but
Yeah. I would try it. I just
for
haven't
sure.
got around to it.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. I did soft boiled too. Soft boiled egg. That's fucking hard to do.
Oh,
But
yeah.
where it's still got a yolk on the inside, it's hard.
Yeah.
So you can cut it open and then you can just put two sides on the top of the ramen and the
Sure.
yolk is just sitting there. That's
Yep.
pretty good.
Soft
It's cool
boiled
to
is
have that soft egg in there, like not the hard boiled egg, that
yeah.
kind of jello-y
Right.
texture.
Yep. Yep.
It's cool to have that in there. I liked it.
Yep. It's all the timing thing with those. It's hard to nail that down. But
It
yeah,
really is.
for sure. I like soft boiled, but there's a real fine line because you want the whites
Oh
cooked,
yeah.
but you want the yolk like still runny.
Right.
I've had it before where you like open it up and the whites are a little bit runny, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not even gonna try to eat that one. That's good.
You just give up on that
Yeah,
egg. You're like, oh,
yeah.
fuck that. I'm not doing that one.
Probably could have just microwaved it or whatever, but it's still just like, nope. Try again. This was when eggs weren't as expensive as they are now. Now
Right.
I'd
Yeah,
just
I
be
was gonna
like,
say.
no, we're
I'm
not throwing
guessing
them
that
away.
hasn't happened in the last year or two.
Yeah. Now I'll just chop up what's left and we'll throw it back in the frying pan. It'll be a weird texture, but whatever.
Right. But it'll work. At
Yep.
this point, it doesn't matter. It's going in. It's $1. Cost me a whole $1 for that egg.
Right.
I
Exactly.
mean, it's not that bad, but seriously, some days feels like it when you look at the egg prices. You're like, fuck.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So we found.
Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say Instagram and like social medias have like opened up my world for that kind of stuff because they're
Yeah.
like just these quick little videos of just like, here, I do this, I do that, I do this
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
and you're just like, damn, dude, like just somebody running through the recipe really fast and then
Yeah.
I can like break it down later is awesome.
Yeah.
Because some of
I
that
agree.
stuff is
It's
like
really cool.
you don't even know where you're going. Now
Yeah.
they've figured out how to do it where they're like, here's the finished product, here's how we got there, now you do it. Like, hell yeah. Where it used to be like this above, the camera's up here looking down,
Yeah.
and then it's like, start with 2 eggs, flour, sugar, and it's like going through everything and you're like, next. Like, I don't just not sitting here to figure out what you're making, so I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it comes up with really good
But
ideas. I didn't even think
yeah.
about that, but that's kind of what we're doing here is
Right.
we're
Yep.
kind of like throwing out those ideas of like, yeah, ramen's really good. Now here it
Yep.
is in a long audio form.
Yep.
We're coming with hot hits, I guess. We're not that long.
But what were you gonna say?
So what I was gonna say is we actually found a ramen noodle because you know how you said you open up the packet and you have the ramen noodles? That's totally legit.
Yep.
Of course it is. And then, or even taking it and spicing it up. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I wanted where I wanted the conversation to go. But
Yeah.
we've made homemade ramen and not the noodle.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't make the noodle. So we found this packet
Sure.
of ramen noodles. They're more yellow, but they're totally ramen noodles. I think they're more egg based than the packet.
Okay.
And yeah, so we found those, and dude, we started from scratch on everything else, like made chicken broth, and then just
Okay.
put things in it, put spices in it as we
Yeah.
went. Yeah, that was super fun to create it from
Nice.
scratch. It was a lot of work kind of for, like
Yeah.
whatever. But you can take the flavor in different directions, right? Cuz like a lot of ginger in there,
Okay.
you know,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
you just don't get with the packet.
Right.
But I don't even think to add ginger to the packet half the time when I'm doing it. I always like take the packet one
Mm-hmm.
and put vegetables in it, like you said, right?
Right. Right.
Or put a little bit more garlic in it or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget to try the other Asian flavors, like, oh, put a little
Sure.
soy sauce in there and then
Yeah.
throw in because if you soy sauce a packet, whew,
Yeah.
motherfucker's gonna get salty.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, that's soy sauce can get out of control quick.
Yeah.
You know, you do a little bit and you're like, oh, not salty enough. Next little drab, you're like, damn it. So
Too salty.
screwed it up.
Shit.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, ramen is good as shit, and I do not eat enough of it. I definitely should start trying a bunch of different stuff. I should get a bunch of those packets because it's so cheap too.
Yeah, I know.
Get
And
a
people
bunch of
always
those
bag
packets.
on it, like, oh, it's so shitty and so cheap and everything like that. It's like, take the fucking noodles out then, like you just said. Like, if you don't like all the
Yeah.
sodium, don't add all that. Don't add the whole packet.
Right.
Like, spice it up with other things, just like we
Yeah.
said. Like, yeah, it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I only
I
have
don't.
one, one a week or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
not like a super like all in on the ramen situation, but like, it's
I've
good.
never I've never really understood some of that stuff where they're just like, I'm just a poor kid, so all I can eat is ramen. And I know like ramen comes with the chicken broth, so like you're paying, like $1 and that's all your supper was $1.
Right.
But then people on the other side, like if you're making homemade like, chicken fettuccine
Yeah.
and people are like, oh my gosh, like it's so fancy. And it's like, you paid the same amount of money for the noodles. Those noodles are the same price,
Right. Right.
And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, there's like cream and Parmesan cheese and you use chicken, but it's like, it's not that much different. But like you said, people still shit on ramen. But like if you're using ramen and you're adding chicken and you're adding,
Right.
making that peanut sauce and stuff, like you're adding
Right.
all these ingredients and now
Yep.
you have like the same thing where it's just a different noodle that you put into your dish.
Yeah, I
Because
totally agree.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've heard it too where, they're just like, oh, it's cheap. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to go get it? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
that's actually what I was going to ask you is, do you have a ramen spot? Because I just figured out that there's a sushi spot near me that does ramen, and they
oh
only have two
nice.
options: regular
Yeah.
ramen, spicy ramen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
gotta go. I gotta
Yeah.
get that shit, dude.
There's a for my birthday, I always go to Kyoto is where I've
Mm-hmm.
been going, and they
Mm-hmm.
have ramen in Kyoto. And that sushi place is an all you can eat where you just order the stuff and they keep bringing it to you and they'll keep coming around and you just keep ordering. Like you eat a little bit, you order something else. You eat a little bit, you order something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll order the ramen. Just be like, yep, I'll get that ramen. I'll get these things. And they come over and then you order like a couple more things. But yeah, keep it coming. And now, literally like 2 blocks away from us, they're going to be opening a new all you can eat sushi place here in St. Cloud. And I
Sweet.
can't wait. Hopefully it's open in time for my birthday. I don't know
Right.
when, but yeah, I don't really have a sushi place because my wife isn't very adventurous. And if we
Right.
make ramen at home, we're the ones that call what's in it, but she's
Yep.
not a fan of anything, any seafood, any peppers. So that really fucks up a lot of dishes. When you
Right.
start talking about the
Yeah,
Asian
yeah, yeah, for
cuisine
sure.
and then you say no peppers or seafood,
Yep.
that eliminates a lot.
Yeah, because even at a ramen spot, there's because I think okay. So one time, me and my wife went to a ramen spot in a big city, and it was like just down the road from where we were staying, kind of tucked behind, and it wasn't. It still wasn't just a ramen spot, right?
Yeah,
Like it kind of smelled like fish a little bit. It was.
sure.
We got lucky that this spot was predominantly a noodle spot, but
Okay,
noodle spot would be the way to put it. It was
sure.
still very, very Japanese in nature. So there was a lot of seafood and stuff like that.
Okay,
So it was still a place you had to feel adventurous to go to, I think. Yes.
sure.
Even
Yeah,
though it wasn't a sushi ramen spot, it was like a noodle spot. So
right.
still.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then our son too. I think she also gets nervous. Like we're gonna go there, and she's like, "I don't know what I'll eat. I don't know what he'll eat." It's like, I don't know. How about we go there and figure it out? Is like how I roll. Like
Yeah, yeah. Like
I
let's
just go
go and
there
just
and
see what
order
happens.
something and see what happens. Like I'm not
Yeah.
picky at all. I will order it, and they could bring out like a goat's head, and I'd just be like, "Oh, that's what I got,
Whoa.
huh? All right, let's
Yeah.
do this. Whatever."
Let's eat.
Let's-
Oh shit, they even left the eyeball.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like I mean, if that's they put it on the menu, they must know what they're doing. That's kind of how I roll. Like if it's a restaurant that looks decent, other people are eating there,
Right.
and then they bring me out something that's actually on the menu. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, all right. Let's go. Let's try it. I'm with you, man.
Yeah, that's like I was for a Super Bowl party. There was a guy. We went to a friend's house, and one of the guys just jokingly, because it was doing like a potluck thing, and the
Mm-hmm.
guy was jokingly like, "Oh, I'll bring the Rocky Mountain oysters," and I'm like, "Dope, dude! I've never had them before." And he's like, "It's a joke," and I'm like, whatever. If you know how to
Okay.
make them, I was like, I'm not eating them raw. But if you know how to,
Right.
but if you know how to make them and cook them, like let's do it, dude.
Let's eat it.
Yeah, I'll eat them.
Right. I'll give it a go.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, dude. Let's do the thing that we always have to do when we're wrapping it up. The likes and subscribe. Give us a
Yep.
like, give us a subscribe. What is it that you always piggyback off of, Tim, on the subscribe?
With my dude Ryan Sickler always says that it means nothing to you guys. It means everything to us. So if you could give us a like and a subscribe, that's the perfect thing to help our channel, help us grow.
That's
Be
right.
much appreciated.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
Ryan Sickler's new special came out. I'm giving
It's out.
a shout out. It's out on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Go check that
Yep.
stuff out because the dude almost died. Support him because he needs to pay his medical bills.
I'll try to give it a watch tomorrow. I just watched Big J's today, but let's talk about that after this.
Yep.
We got social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Find us, Real AF TV.
Yep.
Just search for us, REELAF TV. You'll find us on all those places. We talk. I fixed the contact page now on Real AF TV. So if you go to realaf.tv/contact, you can now email us again. Hit us up. We like to have conversations with everybody out there. Help us keep growing the YouTube again by hitting that subscribe and the like and all that fun stuff. Come on, you know what the algorithm wants if you're listening to podcasts already. Just hit that button one time. That'll help us out. And we got a Patreon page too, which you heard in the break. So I'm not going to sit and beg on that. Unless you're hearing this on Friday, then go to patreon.com/realaftv. Because production's getting expensive now that COVID's over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, not ramen stuff, but I watched Big J's special today. Big J Okerman's special today.
Yeah.
He's got a new one that just dropped a couple days ago.